Um, so in today's session, we are going to discuss some of the transformation components. We will see the demo on slowly changing dimensions, that how SSIS package perform SCD and how we tackle it, what kind of SCD it support, and how can we configure it. So that we are going to see in today's session. Apart from that, we are going to discuss the merge join transformation and how we can implement it. And the second demo we will show on the lookup transformation, that what are the different kind of lookup transformations available and how can we use it. So these are the components which I'm planning to cover in today's session. In our last session, we have worked on some of the transformation components like audit components, row count components, this derived column, conditional split. So these are all the components which we have covered in our last session. So anyone has any particular question on any of this component? If anyone has any question, then we can discuss that, or we can just go ahead with our next transformation components. So any question on this? Any question on any of these components? Okay, so I believe everyone is fine with those components. Now in today's session we are going to start with slowly changing dimension components. That let's say if we are populating a data in our if we are populating a data in some of our dimensions tables, and if let's say business want to update some data in our dimensions tables, then how to handle that. So as I have mentioned at the time we were discussing the slowly changing dimensions in our third session, that there are various types which are defined to handle the updation of data in our data warehouse. Okay, and these types are categorized as like type 0 to type 6. There are 6 different types. Okay, and they have a different kind of approaches to handle a data. The SCD component, which is available in SSIS, it supports a type 1 and type 2 kind of transformation only. It do not support a type 3, type 4 or type 6 kind of transformation. So if you want to implement it, then we need to write our own custom component or our own custom logic to implement the same. So I will just show you how can we implement the type 1 and type 2 kind of type 2 kind of SCD using an SSIS. Just to give you an revise like on this SCD types, in data warehouse updations are very heavy operations. Okay, so generally what happen is at a time of business requirement, when you are gathering data how we are going to define the dimensions and fact table, at that time you ask business users specifically what are the columns or what are the table they want to keep it right enables. So these are the details which you ask at a requirement gathering time. Based on that, how user want to handle their slowly changing dimensions in their data warehouse, that also you ask, and based on that you select the any of this type, that is type 1, type 2, type 0, anything. Type 0 is the passive approach where we do nothing. Like if something is updating in our data in our OLTP system, we do not make any changes in our data warehouse. Type 1 is a simple approach where without maintaining any kind of history, we just update the data to our data warehouse. And type 2, we maintain a different kind of versions in our dimensions tables. The SCD components which is available in SSIS, in that component we can manage the history in this two particular manner. Either we can have a flag value, a flag column in our dimension tables. Okay, in that particular flag column we can contain the values like true and false. Okay, where the true value shows the current record and the false value shows the old record. The alternative approach which is provided in the SCD component of SSIS is we can add a 2 column start date and end date in our dimensions tables. Okay, and by maintaining this 2 value start date and end date, we can handle the slowly changing dimensions. So I will just going to give you a demo on this one, that how can we handle this kind of solution changing dimensions using an SCD component which is available in SSIS. Okay, so first we will go for type 1 kind of transformations, and then we will look into type 2 kind of transformations, that how can we implement that. For that purpose, I have also give you some script that can be used to generate tables which contain this flag and start date and end date component. So please open those scripts and generate this two table, SCD type 2 flag value and SCD type 2 date values in your corresponding test database. So you can see the impact, like the changes impact in your corresponding database. Okay. Also, I have just make this insert and update script. So what we are going to do is we are going to just transform a data to our data warehouse. After that, we are just going to insert and update some of the data in our dimension tables, in our OLTP system, and then we will see how this data is going to impact in our data warehouse, or how your data warehouse is going to handle those kind of data. As I have told you, at a business space, at the requirement gathering time, we are supposed to ask a client that which are the data that can be, which they want to keep a write enable. So which are the data that can be changed in a particular dimension or in a particular table. Okay. So any question on SCD type 1 or type 2 from anyone? I believe everyone is fine with SCD type 1 and type 2 conceptually. So now let's just go ahead and create it practically. So for that purpose, I have just created a new package, and in this package I'm just adding a two new OLEDB connection. One is this AdventureWorks 2008, which we are going to use as our source, and another one I'm just adding as this localhost August 2012, which we are going to use as our destination table. Okay. In this particular table, localhost August 2012, we have created one dimension tables. Its name is dim product. Okay. So let me just go through that table first. Okay. I'm just truncate this table first. Okay, so now this table do not contain any kind of record. Okay. Now let's say in this particular table, whatever data we have, okay, as I have told you, we ask a client specifically at the business requirement time that which particular column of a dimension table they want to keep it write enable. Okay, so let's say a business say for a particular product, its a product category and subcategory can be changed. Okay, so these things we want to keep it as a write enable. I'm just giving you an example. So let's say the business says for a particular product we can change its product category and product subcategory from the UI. So these two things we want to keep it as a write enable. Okay, so let's say these are our criteria, like these are the two columns like product category ID and product subcategory ID, on which we want to create our SCD type 1. Okay.
I have a question.
Yes, Bashir.
Actually, there seems to be a lot of background noise coming.
Yeah, I'm not sure from someone's mic it's coming. Can you please mute your mic if you're not using it, every one of you? Because I'm just getting a noise from someone's mic. If I mute someone, it will create a problem. So please mute your mic if you're not using it. Yep, now we are not getting it. Yep. So what we are going to do is we are going to take a product category ID and product subcategory ID as our, like let's say business has a requirement that they want to implement a SCD type 1 on this two particular column. So we are just going to modify that particular data, and we will see how it is going to impact in our data warehouse accordingly. Okay. So for that purpose, let's say we are just creating a package. So in this package, again, this is a ETL part. So we are going to handle this ETL part in a data flow task. So I'm just adding one data flow task to my SSIS package. In this data flow task, uh, first thing, I'm just adding my OLEDB source. Okay. So this OLEDB source, I have just taken it, I've just put it over here. Okay. In this OLEDB source, I'm just writing the query to select the data from my source. So I'm just copying that query from the last time, the query which we have used to populate the data for our product dimension. So I'm just taking this query which I have mailed to all of you. So I'm just taking this query over here in my source and I'm just putting it over here. So that query, I just have it over here, and these are the columns which we are populating in our dimension tables. Okay, and I'm just saying okay over here. Now let's say after that we want to just whatever kind of transformations we required, we are adding those transformation into our package, and after that we just want to check for the like we want to apply a slowly changing dimension on this particular input, and we want to check whether this particular data exists in our destination database or not. And if some data exists, if some ID exists, then we want to update those particular IDs. Okay, so for that purpose, I'm just adding one component that is an SCD over here, slowly changing dimensions. So I'm just dragging and dropping this component into my data flow task. Okay, and I'm just connecting this to my and I'm just connecting this component to a particular pipeline. Okay, now after that, to configure it, I just required to open it in edit mode. We are going to first implement the SCD type 1. That means we are not going to maintain any kind of history, and we are just going to update the data like in our destination table. So for that purpose, I'm just opening this component in an edit mode. When I open it in edit mode, a window will be popped up which looks something like this. Okay, here I'm just going to the next page. In the next page, it will ask me like with which data or what is your dimension table with which you want to compare this particular data. Okay, so here I'm just selecting my connection as a localhost August 2012, where I have created my dimension table. So I have just selected that table over here. I've just selected the connection over here. After that, it is asking me what is a table or view where you have stored this particular data. So we have created one dimension table as a dim product in our database. Okay, that contain that can hold this dimension data. So I'm just selecting that particular table. Now when I select this particular table, what it do is it will just map all the input columns with the corresponding dimension column. If you see the heading over here, this is the input columns which are coming from OLEDB, and these are the dimension columns. Okay, now if you see at the bottom, there is one warning message that at least one business key need to be selected. That means on basis of what you want to update, or on the basis of what you want to check whether the data exists in your dimension table or not. So as we have discussed at the time of dimension modeling process, that whatever dimensions tables we create, okay, in those dimension tables, we need a one column or a combination of column that can be used to uniquely identify a record in a particular dimension table. Okay, so here in our case, that particular column is a product key, because product key is going to be the unique in our product dimension. Okay, so this particular product key we can use as a business key to just see whether a particular product exists in our dimension or not. Okay, so for that purpose, we just require to define one key as a business key. So I'm just defining this product key as a business key. Here, to define a particular column business key, we just require to go to this key type column. In this key type column, we get this kind of drop down, and from this drop down we can select a particular value that this particular key is a business key. If your business key is a combination of more than one column, then you can go to a particular column, like you can go to more than one column, and from this drop down you can select a corresponding value as a business key. So now on the basis of this business key, on every load it is going to compare whether this business key exists in the dimension table or not. If this business key exists, that means some data is changed in a source, okay, and we need to update that data. Otherwise, if the business key do not exist, that means it's a fresh data and we have to insert that data. Okay, so this business key is very important because based on it your SSIS package is going to insert or update a data in your corresponding dimension table. Okay, so here in this particular screen we just required to identify a business key. After that I'm just moving to a next screen. In next screen, if you see on the left hand side some description is
Question?
yes. Yes, go ahead.
Hello?
Yes, go ahead. Yep. Can you please ask a question? It's like.
Yeah. What if the table business key?
I'm sorry, actually, I'm not able to hear you clearly. Your voice is breaking.
What if the database, if what if the table, the input table does not have a key?
If the input table are empty, okay, okay. If the input table is empty or if there is no data
Not
coming
empty,
in.
not empty. No, it's not about empty data. Our table does not have a primary key that I can use as a business key.
Okay, so
Don't worry about it. I will ask later. Yeah.
okay, okay, okay. So let's say when we come to this particular next screen, here we have on the left hand side, if you see, some text is written which says a fix with the headings like fixed attribute, changing attributes and historical attributes. Now on this screen basically what we do is we basically define what kind of SCD type we want to assign on a particular column. Okay, so here if you see there are these two kind of in this particular table two kind of columns are written. Those are dimension columns and these are the change type. Okay, so this change type is going to be this fixed attribute, this changing attribute and this historical attribute, which are the tags on the left hand side. If you read its description, it says if you are going to define some dimension column as a fixed attribute, okay, then which is a scenario when you are going to select this particular column as a fixed attribute. So when select this type, when the value in a column should not change are treated as an error. Okay, changing attribute, select this type when changed values should override the existing value. This is a type 1 change. Okay, and the third one is historical attribute, which says select this type when change in column value are saved in the new records. Previous values are saved in a records marked as a outdated. This is a type 2 changes. So here it is just giving us an like a view like what is a like a description of this three particular tags: fixed attribute, changing attributes and historical attribute. Now let's say here in this dimension table we select our column, like as I have told you, let's say we want to apply a SCD type 1 on a product category ID and product subcategory ID. So I'm just selecting this product category ID over here, and if I see its change type here in this drop down, I'm going to get these three options, that what kind of type you want to, what kind of SCD type you want to apply on it, whether you want to apply, whether you want to consider.
Akshay?
Yes.
I have a
Yes.
question. So those attributes are 0, 1, and 2 that you just show us on Excel spreadsheet, right?
Yes, 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 yes. Yep.
So fixed
This.
attribute, it might be 0, right? And changing attribute might be 1.
Yes, 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 yes,
Okay.
yes. Okay.
Thank you.
So here these are these attribute, and let's say we want to implement or type one kind of changes on the product category ID. That's why we are just selecting this changing attribute over here. So now this product category ID is now considered as an the SIS package is going to interpret it as an that we are going to apply a type 1 kind of SCD on this particular column. After that, let's say on the product subcategory ID also, we want to implement this particular uh, SCD type. So I'm just selecting it and I'm just marking it as a changing attribute. Okay. So now on both of this column, we are applying a SCD type 1. So at the data load, what SSIS package is going to do is, it is just going to fetch the entire data set from a source. Okay. And after that, from this dimension table, SSIS package is going to fetch its business key, whatever we have defined. Okay. And the column which we have defined over here as a product category ID and product subcategory ID from the dimension table. It will take these three columns from the dimension tables, and after that against each of the source column, okay, it is just going to compare a dimension. It is just going to compare the dimension tables value. If a particular business ID, if a particular business key, that is a product ID, if it exists in our dimension table, and for for that one, if the product category ID and product subcategory ID are not as it is present in our dimension table, okay, then it is going to update that particular data and it will mark those record as a updation kind of records. Okay, so here in this particular screen we just configure that what kind of SCD we want to apply on a particular column. Once this is done, we can just move to a next screen, which says if there are a fixed attribute, then what you like, if you want to, like, if you have defined some columns as a fixed attribute, then how you want to handle that. If let's say you have a business requirement that if something like let's say person's SSN number, okay, if you're populating a data in an employee table and a person and its SSN number is over there, okay, and business want that if the SSN number of a particular person change, then that is a totally invalid scenario and we want to fail those particular package. Okay, so if you want to tackle those kind of scenario, then you can define a particular attribute as a fixed attribute. So if the value of that particular attribute change, then your SSIS package will stop its execution and it will result in a failure. Okay, so if you have defined something, then this particular checkbox will be enabled and you can check this particular checkbox to have those kind of rules. Okay, after that, change all the matching records including outdated records when changes are deleted. Okay, so after that I'm just moving to a next window. In the next window it is just saying me enable a inferred member support. I'm just going to discuss it after some time. So right now I'm just disabling this particular component. After that I'm just moving to a next, where over this slowly changing dimension process is complete, and I'm just going to click on this finish button. Now when I click on this finish button, what it is going to do is it is going to generate some of the component on its own, which looks something like this. Like we have just added this OLEDB source and slowly changing dimension, and once we have done its configuration, it has created these two more component, where one is this OLEDB command component, okay, and the another one is this insert destination component. This insert destination component, it is nothing but our OLEDB destinations which we are using till now. Okay, so what it is going to do is it is basically fetching some data from a source. Okay, so this is, let's say, some source data which it is fetching, that contain a product ID, product category ID, okay, product subcategory ID, okay, and some other columns. Okay, now at the time it inserted data in this particular SCD transformation, what it is going to do is from the dimension product table, in our dimension product table also we are going to have this particular 3 keys. Okay, so it is going to fetch this particular 3 particular columns from our dimension table as well. Okay, and it is just going to compare the data. If some particular product ID, if it exists in this particular data set or not, which it has fetched from a dimension table. If that data do not exist, if a particular product ID, which is our business key, it do not exist, then it is going to pass, then it is going to consider that particular data as a new output, and it is going to pass that records over here in this particular insert destination to this particular insert destination component. Okay, but now if it found that for some of the product ID, okay, some of the product ID over here, it found in our dimension tables, okay, and for that particular product ID, if its product category ID and its product subcategory ID are different than what it is in the source, okay, then in that particular scenario, it is just going to pass those kind of output to this particular OLEDB command, where it is just going to update a particular data in our dimension tables. Okay, now let's just go ahead and explore these particular components. Okay, so first I'm just going to open this insert destination component. This insert destination component, as I have told you earlier, is nothing but OLEDB destination components which we are using till now. So if I open it in an edit mode, okay, when I open it in an edit mode, I will be able to see the similar structure like the database connection managers, the table or view, then this name of the table or view is mentioned over here as a dimension product. If I go to its mapping, I will be able to see that all the column mapping is mentioned over here for a new record. So if a new record is going to come, it is just going to insert this record. Now, so this is our insert destination component. Now to handle the updates in your dimension table, it use this particular OLEDB command component. This OLEDB command component is a kind of transformation component which can be used to perform any kind of operation, to run any kind of SQL query in your SSIS package. Okay, so here we want to just update the data based on our business key. So those kind of update statement, we can write it over here in this OLEDB command. So just to give you an example, how can what is written behind it, I'm just opening this particular component in an edit mode. When I open it in edit mode, it has this 4 tabs. In the first tab is a connection manager, where it has just mentioned that the connection it has connected to is this localhost August 2012, which is our destination table. Okay, after that, the second tab is the component properties. In this component property tabs, we are going to write the operations, like we are going to write the SQL command, what kind of operation we want to perform. Okay, so here your SCD components want to do, your SCD component want to update some data based on some condition. So it has just written one update statement over here. Okay, now let me just take this particular script of update component and just view this script in our SQL server, what is there in this particular script. So I'm just copying this particular script and I'm just pasting it in my SQL server. Now if I see this particular script, the script looks something like this, that update this dimension table, okay, and set this product category ID as something, and this product subcategory ID is something, where your product ID is something. Okay, so here again the updation is going to do on whatever you have described as your business key while creating a slowly changing dimension, and whatever column you have defined it, like on whatever column you have defined a type 1, those columns are getting updated over here in this particular case. Now this question mark is basically used to pass some parameter in SSIS. Okay, again some particular, if you want to pass some parameter to our SQL query, then we use a question mark in SSIS. Okay, so how can we map this data, or how can we map the data to this question mark, and we can pass a corresponding data to this particular script. So the update script will be created and it will be run on a particular server. Okay, so for that purpose we are just required to go to this third map, which is in column mapping. Now if I go to this column mapping, in this column mapping I can see there are these three parameters, because we have a 3 question mark in our script. If you see, there are these 3 question mark, and their order is like, the first question mark is again a product category ID, the second question mark is against product subcategory ID, and the third question mark is against product ID. Okay, now if we see this particular mapping, here we can see that this first parameter 0, the destination column, it is matched to this product category ID. Here we are passing the data as a second parameter as a product subcategory ID, and in the last parameter we are passing our product ID. So it is just getting the data from this particular from this place, and it is just updating the data in our dimension table. So this is how this particular like SSIS package is now going to implement a SCD type 1 on your particular table. To have a better idea on this one, what I'm going to do is I'm going to just run this package so you have some more clear idea on how the things are performing over here. Okay, and then we will discuss the actual scenario, how these things are getting implemented in a data warehouse kind of projects. Okay, so now I'm just defining this project as this particular package as a startup object, and after that I'm just saving this project, and I'm just running this particular SSIS. At present, like we have just truncated the data in our destination table, so there is no data in our destination table. Okay, now if you see over here, what it has done, is it has just fetched the 504 records from a source. Okay, and it has inserted a 209 records in our destination tables. Now if you see over here, it has filtered some of the records. Why those records are being filtered? These records are being filtered because the key which we have defined, like this product category ID and product subcategory ID, those contains a null value for some of the records, and these are the reason why it has filtered some of this record and it has added the data over here in this particular manner. Okay, so this is the reason why this data is filtered, and out of 504, these 209 records are getting inserted into our destination tables. Now if I go to this particular table and if I see the data, I will be able to see that there is some data
You have to change your default database.
Yep.
You're still on master. You need to change your default database.
Yep. I'm doing it. Yep. So let's say now I select this particular data, and I will be able to see this kind of data over here in my database. Okay, so I can just see this kind of data like I'm just getting in my particular database. Now let's say if I want to perform some kind of operations, let's say for this product ID 1234, let's say I just want to update its product category ID and product subcategory ID, and let's say for some of the records I want to let's say I want to insert this 2 record in my OLTP system. Okay, and I want to update some of the record in my OLTP system. So I'm just taking some records, let's say against this product ID 1, 2, 3 and 4. Okay, I'm just going to change its product category ID and its product subcategory ID, and these 2 records I'm just going to insert in my database in my OLTP system. So I'm just inserting these records in my product table. Okay, so let me just run this particular script when I'm just changing its subcategory ID, category ID, and I'm just inserting these records. So here I have inserted 2 records and I have updated 4 records. Okay, and now after that, if again I run this particular SSIS package, I will be able to see the distribution, like how this SCD component is going to insert or is going to update a particular data in our tables. Okay, so for that purpose, just to have a demo on this one, I'm just going to run this particular package. So let me just run this package, and now when I have run this package, it has basically fetched a 506 rows from the source. Okay, it has fetched a 506 rows from the source, and if you see over here, you can clearly see that as we have inserted 2 new records, okay, it has just passed only these 2 records to this new output. Okay, and it has passed the 4 records which we have updated to this OLEDB command output over here, and the corresponding data is getting inserted or updated. Okay, now if we select a particular record from our table, let's say if we select a particular product ID from our table, then we will be able to see that its a product category ID and its product model ID are going to be changed. Okay, so let me just select, just add a where clause over here in this particular condition, and let me just execute this statement, and if I see, I can see the change in this product category ID. Okay, and product model ID, product category ID and product subcategory ID over here, and I can just see this particular kind of changes. So this is how we can implement a SCD type 1 kind of changes in our particular dimension tables. The 2 new records which we have inserted, those records also we can just see something like this, that I have mentioned this product name as a test bicycle and test bicycle 2. So I just required to write this query over here, something like this, and I will be able to see that this particular 2 records are where product name and if I see these 2 particular records are now getting inserted in my dimension table, okay, with the corresponding key and all the data. Okay, so this is how I can implement a SCD type 1 kind of changes into my data warehouse. Okay, any question on any of these components which or any question on this particular demo which I have just shown you? I'm getting actually lots of background noises, so if you are not using your mic, please mute it. Any question on this SCD type 1 implementation?
Yeah, Akshay. First thing, like when you execute this package,
yep,
after it finishes, right, it does not stop automatically. You have to like click on the stop button.
Yeah, because right now,
unlike other, yeah. So I mean, how does this work in real life situation?
Here actually we are using a BIDS environment. Okay, so that why it is just giving us this option to stop its execution and start its execution. If you have a package deployed somewhere as a file system or as on a SQL server, okay, then it will automatically start like after the execution start, it will end automatically. We don't have to stop like something or perform activity, something like this one. It is just to give us a familiarity on this BIDS environment. We have this facility to see the data in a concerned manner. Okay. Everyone is conceptually fine with this SCD type 1. If any question on that part, then please go ahead and ask a question.
Akshay, what is the purpose of OLEDB command, and why do you have question mark in it?
Okay, OLEDB command is basically used to basically fire any kind of SQL statement on a particular server. Let's say if you want to truncate some table, if you want to delete some record from some table in your data flow transformation task, if you want to implement some kind of like create table script or something like this you want to run in your transformation task, then all those kind of commands you can execute using this OLEDB command. So if you require to implement those kind of functionality, then you can use it. For the major purpose, like we use this OLEDB command to make some kind of updation in our data flow task. Like majorly we use it for update statements. But if you want to fire any kind of SQL statement, you can use this particular OLEDB command to perform the same. Does it answer your question? Or everyone is fine with the concept, like how this SCD is like just implementing this SCD type 1 over here with this particular options, slowly changing dimensions, like how can we use it to configure these things? Okay, now
Akshey,
yes.
What's the main purpose of using SCD? We can have a simply, if your job is running every day and you want to update the data, you can just update the statement like, and then it can run and update your database, right?
You can run and you can update your database, right? But how you are going to implement this? Like, are you saying with the lookup component and the combination of insert destination and OLEDB command, something like this?
Right. So when you like, I have two sources and I want to just like simple. If I'm having source somewhere in a flat file, and every day if my data is changing, I can just run the SSIS package, and it can update every day, right?
Yep, it can. If you want to implement this SCD kind of things, then also like one of the alternative approach you can use it, the combination of lookup components and this slowly changing dimension. Like you can use the combination of this lookup component with this insert destination and OLEDB command. But generally, if I speak practically, in practical scenario where I have not used this slowly changing dimension and I have used a combination of lookup component and this insert destination and OLEDB command, is like in some of the project what happen is client is not much sure about what particular attribute they should keep as a slowly changing attributes. Okay, they are not sure which kind of type to apply on a particular column. In those particular scenarios, what happen is client generally they randomly say we want to apply a type 1 kind of changes in all the columns we have in our dimension table. Okay, now in those kind of scenario, if let's say your dimension table has let's say 25 columns, okay, and if you want to implement a SCD type 1 kind of changes on that 25 columns, and if you use this component like this slowly changing dimension, it is going to kill your performance. Okay, the reason is how this SCD component work is, if you see what it is going to do is it is just going to fetch, like whenever a package is going to start its execution, whatever columns you have defined in this SCD, like the column which define like this, like we have defined this product ID, product category ID and product subcategory ID, it is just going to fetch this particular data from a particular from a dimension tables. Okay, so let's say it has fetched some data from the dimension tables. Okay, and now it is comparing this data, like it is just going to compare all the value of this all these 3 cells, whatever it is getting from a source, to this particular column what it is getting from a particular dimension table. Now let's say if business is not much sure on which column they want to apply a SCD, and let's say they say we want to apply a SCD type 1 on all the columns. Okay, then here you will have a all the columns over here in which you are fetching from this dimension product, all the columns which you are fetching from your source, and you are comparing all the columns in your SCD components. So if you implement SCD in this particular way, then it make your SSIS package very heavy and it kill the performance. Okay, so and on those particular scenario, rather than using an SCD component, what we generally do is we generally just see whether like using a lookup component, we just generally see whether a particular product ID is present or not. If that product ID is present, then irrespective of the data is changed or not, we update the entire record. And if not exists, then we just insert the records. So this is a scenario in which you can just use like this lookup and combination of insert destination and OLEDB command, and you can just ignore this slowly changing dimension. But if a business has some proper criteria that okay, in this dimension table these are the columns which are going to be changed, then it's preferable to use this slowly changing dimension. Does it answer your question?
Hey, hello Akshey. This is Suchi. I have a question.
Yes.
Actually, it's not so much dimension in fact. It's if I have a source that has million records. I have implemented already, but I want to know if you have a better solution. Like if you have, I know the key, if it's a multi-key, like a purchasing document and an item, like it's a composite key and it's unique.
Okay.
And I get like say, I'll just pick a number. Basically, I'm getting million records.
Okay.
So the idea is anything that comes new for the combination of these two, I need to insert. If it is coming again, then I need to update because as you said, there are but doing a lookup on a million records that's already there, because I didn't want to it's not really a dimension, it's like a huge humongous data, but everything to link from SAP.
Okay. Yep. So on those case, actually, if your the table on which you are applying a lookup, if it's not much big, like if your destination is also a big table, then lookup is an option. Basically you can use a lookup to just check whether a particular key exists or not, and if that key exists, you can perform the update and insert accordingly. If your database contain a very heavy updation, like if there are lots of records, those are going to be updated in a run, okay, then it can like with SSIS, it can give a performance hit after some amount of record it has. So for that purpose, you need to do some kind of logical operation that rather than updating one record at a time, you do a kind of bulk updation using a merge statement or something. So you just need to create those kind of bulk updation kind of things, okay, and that can help you improve your performance. So in this particular manner you can perform this activity, but for that you required some extra infrastructure.
Right. I did the same thing. I just wanted to know if I did right or is there anything other option. Okay, thank you.
Yep. Okay.
Akshay, I have a question.
Yes.
OLDB command is a data flow transformation component, right?
Yes.
Is it possible to pass data from OLDB command to data flow destination?
OLEDB command to data flow destination. Yes, it is. Because if we see this OLEDB command, okay, that I will just show you in my next demo. When I'm going to show you the SCD type 2, at that time it will be clear to you. Just give me a few minutes. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. So this is how we can implement SCD type 1 using a component which is available over here and provided by an SSIS. Now we are just going to implement a SCD type 2, okay, where we are going to maintain some history using this particular slowly changing dimension. Okay, so let's just go ahead and create those particular package. So for that purpose, I'm just disabling this particular data flow task. Let me just copy the source query which I have over here in this OLEDB source. Okay. And I'm just adding one more data flow task over here. And I'm just going to this data flow task. Again, I'm just adding one OLEDB source to my package, and I'm just mentioning my source as adventure works. I'm just mentioning data access mode as a SQL command. I'm just mentioning the SQL query over here. These are the columns which I'm getting from my source, and I'm just saying okay. So this is the data I'm getting. Now let's say I want to implement a SCD type 2 on this one. So I'm just adding this slowly changing dimension. Let's say whatever transformation you want to apply, you can apply those transformation before this one, and after that you can just connect this data pipeline to your slowly changing dimension. After that, I'm just going to now open it in an edit mode. When I open it in edit mode, again it is going to give me this kind of views. So I'm just moving into my next page where it is asked me to select the connection managers. So I'm just selecting my destination database, and table I'm just selecting. Okay, what I have did is I have basically created these two tables to give you an demo. The first table I have created is a dim product SCD type 2 flag value. What I have did is in this particular dimension table, I have keep like all the columns like what we have in our earlier example dim product, but I have just added one more column flag in this particular table. Okay, what we are going to do is we are going to maintain or we are going to create this kind of structure over here, where we are just going to maintain the data in our dimension table with one more column flag. Okay, where we are going to store the value like false and true. Okay, and the record having a true value, it is just going to indicate it is the latest record. Okay, or this is a new record which just got inserted over here. Okay, so this is a kind of structure we are going to create. So from this particular drop down, I'm just selecting this particular table which is an SCD type 2 flag value table. Okay, here also it is just asking us like you need to define a business key. Again, I'm just defining my product key as a business key, product ID as a business key. So I'm just selecting this data over here as my product ID as a business key, and I'm just moving to a next window. In the next window, again I just required to select a particular columns and its data type accordingly. So I'm just selecting the our column as a product subcategory ID, and I'm just marking it as a historical attribute. Again, I'm selecting a product category ID, and I'm just marking it as a historical attribute. So this indicates that I'm going to apply a SCD type 2 on this particular columns. After that, I'm just moving to a next. When it is asking us, like as I have told you earlier, there are lots of ways you can maintain a version in your particular dimension table. SSIS support these two types, where one we can, as you can see these two options over here. The first option is use a single column to show a current and expired record. Okay, so either we can handle it in this particular way, or the second option is to use a start date and end dates to identify a current and expired record. Okay, so first I'm just going to give you a demo on this one, that how can we use it using a flag column. So I'm just using this first option, and in this drop down I can see like column to indicate the current record, like which extra column which you have added to your dimension tables which can be used to indicate the current and expired record. So we have added one extra column, so I'm just selecting that particular column name, that is a flag. Now after that, it is just asking us value when current and expiration value, that in this particular column what value you want to keep when your particular record is a current record, that is a latest record, and what value you want to keep when your record is expired one. Okay, So for that purpose, I'm just selecting from this drop down. Let's say I'm just selecting the value like true. Okay. So what it is going to do is, whenever a new record is going to insert, first time it is just going to insert a true in this particular flag column, and after that, whenever a record is going to change, what it is going to do is it is going to mark the old record as a false one, and it is going to insert a new record with this value true. So those kind of configurations I have just did it over here in this particular screen for the flag column. And after that, I'm just moving to a next one. This enable inferred member support, I will just explain you in some time. And after that, let's say I'm just moving to a next, and I'm just clicking on this finish button. Now when I click on this finish button, what the SSIS package is going to do is it is just going to create some own its component to support this SCD type 2 and handle this SCD type 2 structure over here. Okay, so now if I see over here, it has created lots of components. Like we have just added a one component as this slowly changing dimension, but if you look it over here, it has created a lots of component over here, like this derived column, OLEDB command, then this union all component, and all these other component as well. It has just added over here. Okay, so we'll just look into this, how it is working with all these components. Okay, so we will just see its definitions and we'll give you an idea on this one. So this was our OLEDB source. From this source we are just let me just first make it properly so visibly it's good. Okay. Okay. So now we have just added this slowly changing dimension and OLEDB source, and all the other components are added by this slowly changing dimension wizard only. Okay. Now I'm just going to show you what component is doing what. Okay. So let's say we are fetching some data from a source. We have fetched the product ID, subcategory ID and product category ID from our dimension table. Here the comparison is made to identify whether the record is updated record or it's a new record. Okay, if the record is updated record, okay, let's say if the particular product ID is already exists and its corresponding product category ID and subcategory ID are modified, then those kind of output will go over here in this derived column. Okay, now in this derived column, if I open this derived column in an edit mode, what it is doing is it is just adding one more column as a flag to our data set. Like as I have told you earlier, this derived column is used to add a column in our data set or to modify the existing columns data what we have in our data set. So here this particular derived column component, it is just adding some column to our data set, and it is just adding this value false with this particular record. Okay, so whatever record are going to be passed over here in this particular output section, they all will have one more column added to it which contain the value false. Okay, now this flag value will pass to this OLEDB command, and in this OLED command, if I open it in edit mode, what it is going to do is, if we take the update statement from this particular OLEDB in this OLEDB command, we will be able to find that let me just open this in SQL window so it's more visible and more clear to all of you. So if I open in this SQL command, you will be able to see that it is just updating a flag value. Okay, the flag value which we have added in our data set is false. Okay, so it is just going to update this particular table and mark the flag value as a false, where the product ID is whatever product ID is coming and the existing value of the flag is true, because whenever we are going to insert a record at a first time, its flag value is going to be true. So here it is just marking a particular record as a false record. Okay, that indicate this record is an expired record. Okay, So this task is done in this OLEDB command. After that, it is passing the entire data set to this union all component. Okay, here also this rolling changing dimension, whatever component it has find as a new component, it is just passing this component to this union all component task over here. Okay, this union all component task is nothing but you can just compare it with the, like, in our SQL statement, whenever we want to club a two data sets, we use a union all. Okay, similarly in SSIS also, if you want to club a two data sets, okay, you can use this particular union all component. Okay, now if we go to this union all component and if we open it in edit mode, we can see there are these two kind of inputs over here, union all input 1 and union all input 2. Okay, and this is the output column which it is giving. Okay, so what it is going to do is it is just again going to club the inserted and the updated data, like the data set data for which our like product ID against which our flag value is updated. Those kind of data is coming in this union all two inputs, and the new data which is coming, it is coming in this union all input 1. So that data we are just passing to this output column name over here. Here if you see carefully, that flag column which we have added to our data set 2 is not coming over here. So after that OLEDB transformation, we are just ignoring that particular flag column which we have added to our updated data set. Okay, so here we have again just taken the union of a particular data. Okay, after that we are using one derived column again, and in this particular derived column we are just adding one column again as a with a name flag, and we are just adding a data in this column as a true. Okay, and after that when this column is added to our data set, we are just passing this data to our destination table. So that's why this OLEDB destination component is used over here. And if I open it in edit mode, I will be able to see that here the name of the table is this flag value, and it is just inserting a data into this particular table. Okay, let me just make sure that the value for the flag is also done. So I'm just going into this mapping tab, and I just want to make sure that yep, the value of this flag is also done, and I can just say OK over here. So now in this particular manner, SSIS is going to, like, this particular slowly changing dimension component is going to perform a SCD2 kind of changes in a corresponding dimension table. At present, I believe no data exists in this particular data tables. So let me just go to this and just select the data for this flag value table. I'm just selecting a data, and no data exists in this particular table. Now first time whenever we are going to insert a data, all the data will be marked as a true, and it will be inserted into our corresponding destination table. After that we are just going to modify the data, and we will see how the data is getting affected in our corresponding dimension tables. Okay, so for that purpose I'm just again just going to this script. I'm just reverting the update which I have made to perform by last transformation, that the record I have inserted and record I have updated. So I'm just changing it to its default values. So for that purpose I'm just reverting my script, and let me just run this. Let me just execute this particular statements. Okay, so now I have just keep my OLTP system database again in a original shape what it was. Okay, by executing this delete and update statement. Now let's just run this particular package and see how the data is flowing. So for that purpose I'm just clicking on this arrow button to run this SSIS package. It is again going to fetch some data from source and just see the distribution of data is due over here. Now as we are running our SSIS package for a first time, okay, you can see it has fetched all the records, and these records are getting inserted into our destination table. Okay, and none of the records are passed to this particular output, that is a derived column, or where we are going to update a particular record. Now if we go to our SQL server and if we select the data again from this particular table, SED type 2 flag value, we will be able to see that this record are inserted into this particular table, and for all the records the corresponding flag value is true over here. Okay, now what we are going to do is we are going to update some of the records, and we will see how this record are getting impacted in our like how this SED is going to like reply to this kind of insertion or updation of records. So for that purpose I'm just running this particular insert script and this update statement again, which are going to insert a 2 records and which are going to update a 4 records. Okay, so now we have this 4 updated records and 2 inserted record in our OLTP system. Okay, and now let's just run this SSIS package again to see how it is going to handle this particular scenario. So for that purpose I'm just running this SSIS package again. And I can see that it has fetched some 506 record from the source. It has found that there are 4 records for which the product category ID and subcategory ID is updated. So those records first go over here in this particular section, historical attribute insert output 4 rows. It will go to this derived column where one more column is added to a data set which contain a false value. Okay. After this OLTP command will be executed. This OLTP command, what it is going to do is, we have updated the value for product ID 1, 2, 3 and 4. So for those columns, it is just going to mark all the flag value as a false. Okay. After that, it is just going to transfer this data to this union all component. This union all component, these 4 records which are updated, all the data for that 4 record will be transferred to this union all. The 2 record which are new, those data also come over here in this union all component. It will give us a 6 record. With this 6 record, we are again adding one more derived column as a flag, and in that particular column we are keeping a default value as a true value, and we are just inserting that data again in our destination table. So now if we go and see data in our this particular SQL server, so let's just go to this table and see how the data has come to this particular table. So let me just copy this table name and see the particular data. So let's say here I just first want to see the data for this one. Okay, and I want to see this data order by product ID. Okay, let me just select this particular data. So now if I select this data, I will be able to see that there are 8 columns for these 4 records, like, okay, and if I see its flag value, this is an order by on product ID. So first 2 records will be for a product ID 1, and if I go to its flag value, I will be able to see that there are this for an old record the flag value is false, and the new record the flag value is true. So based on this, I will be able to identify like which are the modified records in my corresponding dimension table. If once again if we modify these records and if we run this SED task, then one more record like this record which is right now true, it will be marked as a false, and a new record will be inserted into this corresponding dimension tables. Now for the records which are new, let's just go and look the flag value of those particular records. So I'm just selecting I'm just writing this table name over here. Okay, and let me execute this select statement. If I execute this select statement, I will be able to see that this 2 record are inserted as a fresh record, and if I see flag value, this flag value is come as a true. So based on this data, I can maintain a kind of history in my dimension table, and I can implement a SCD type 2 in my corresponding databases. So this is how, using this slowly changing dimension, we can implement a SCD type 1 and SCD type 2 kind of changes in our databases. SCD type 3, 4 or 6 kind of changes if you want to implement, we are required to write our manual logic to implement the same using the transformation components available over here. Okay. Now any question on this kind of SCD type 2 transformation using a flag value? Any question on this particular SCD type 2? Or it is clear?
Hey Akshay?
Yes?
We don't have to create a table structure before, right? It will create as is, or we have to have the product table already built except for the flag.
No, you have, no, you should have a table already built. Table should be created in your database. Before you
column flag also with the flag column?
Yep, because on that flag column only you are going to decide. So that's why the insert script also, which I have passed to all of you, it contains this flag column over here. So if you compare the dim product table and this dim product SCD type 2 flag value table, it has this extra column. That is what I have mentioned. Like
on the product ID saying if the product is already existing, you're updating and updating the flag. It's a upsert, is that? It's insert and it inserts a new record or just updates the flag is equal to false?
Yeah, first update the all records, like first update all records flag which are comes, yeah. For that one update the flag value and after that insert all the record with a new flag value.
So but at any point in time for a product ID, if the changes came in 3 times, you'll still have only one record, right?
Sorry?
Suppose we got the changes to a product ID 1.
Okay.
3 times.
Okay. Okay. Then you have a 3. Then for a product ID 1, you will have a 4 records in your dimension tables. When these 3 changes which are implemented, okay, like there will be a 3 record with the false value and 1 record with the new value.
Okay, so it's not having timestamp, it just has the boolean telling this
Boolean's value. Yeah. Oh, there are different ways which you can implement those things. The other way to implement is using the start date and end date, where you can have this end date kind of thing, and based on that also you can implement those same things. As we are running out of time, I just want all of you to perform this SCD type 2, okay, using like by maintaining this and by maintaining the combination of start date and end date on your own as in classwork. And if you get any difficulty implementing it, just join tomorrow's session 15 minutes earlier so I can help you out accordingly. Okay, for that like to create those kind of structure, I have created a table structure and I have passed that table structure to all of you. You will get one more table in your mail. That table name is dim product SCD type 2 date values. It contains 2 extra columns, which is in record start date and record end date, which can be used to make this kind of updations or insertion. So please try to implement the SCD type 2 with this particular tables, where don't select an option to mark the flag value as a true or false, but use the combination of the start date and end date. And if you face any difficulty, I will help you out in tomorrow's session. Just join it 15 or 20 minutes earlier. Any other question on this particular data flow task? Any other question?
Yeah, can you just open the SCD component?
Okay.
This one, yeah.
Okay, let me just open it in edit mode. Okay. Okay, just tell me on which screen you want me to stop, so I will just stop it accordingly. Okay.
Just go next.
Okay.
Okay. Just right here. Oops.
Okay.
Now, can you go back one?
Back one. Okay.
Okay. So I just wanted to see. So internally, it's actually doing a comparison from this table to the host table in order to find the changes.
Yep. Okay. These are the input columns. These are the dimension columns. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Okay. So this is a kind of solution changing dimension which is available in SSIS to implement a type 1 and type 2 kind of changes. Um, Now just implement the SCD type 2 using the combination of this start date and end date. And if you face any difficulty, we will just solve in tomorrow's session. Uh, I'm just taking a break of 2-3 minutes, and then again we will start our session with merge transformation. So I'm just taking a 2-3 minutes break, and then we will start our session again. Okay, so hello everyone again. Um, Runal, please mute your mic if you are not using it because it is just generating an echo. Okay, so now with this SCD component, also we have learned two more component which is this union all component and OLEDB transformation component. Anyone has any question with the configuration of this two component as well? If anyone has any question on this configuration, then please go ahead and ask a question, because now I'm not going to explain these two components as in a separate example. So if any question on this component as well, just go ahead and ask a question with the configuration part or on any other things. Okay, so I believe everyone is fine with this union all and OLDB component as well. Now we are going to look into some more transformations, like first we will look into a merge join, then we will look into lookup, then merge component, and just see the difference of this merge and merge join mostly in tomorrow's session. Okay, so now let's just start with this merge join transformation. This merge join transformation, it is basically used when you want to apply some kind of join between your two data sets. Like when you create a SQL query, like we generally use some kind of joins to retrieve a data from different table. Like we use a left join, right outer join, or a inner join. So this kind of joins we used in our SQL query. Similarly, let's say if you are fetching a data from a one database only, let's say you are fetching a data from a SQL server, then it is possible to write a different kind of joins in your query editor. But let's say you have a two different data sources. Your one data source is SQL server, the another data source is Oracle, and if you want to join the data that you are fetching from this two data source and you want to pass that data into your destination tables, then to perform all those kind of operation like joining the two data set, okay, this particular component merge join is available in our transformation. So we can use this component to merge the two databases. Like we can apply the join in two data sets, like we can apply a inner join, left outer join, or right outer join. So how can we implement this functionality that I'm just going to show you in this demo. So for that purpose, I'm just going to control flow and I'm adding one more data flow task to my particular package. Okay, here what we are going to do is, for our demo purpose, like in this particular query where we are fetching a data from for products, okay, we have written many joins over here. Let me just open that particular script so that you have an idea. Okay, so here where we are selecting a data, we have applied the join between two tables. We have applied the left join between this product and product model based on some key values like product model ID. Okay, so we are going to implement the similar thing. Like let's just consider this two table product and these two tables, product and product model, they are coming from a different data source, and if you want to join their data and you want to pass that data to some third table, so how can you implement those kind of functionality that I'm just going to show you. Okay, so for that purpose, like as we are dealing with two different data sources, or let's say we are fetching a data from two different, like we are creating a two different data sets as our source. So that's why I'm just fetching, I'm just dragging and dropping this two OLEDB source component in my particular this data flow task. Okay, now let's just configure this data flow task to just fetch a data from a product table and a product model table. Okay, in both this table, the common key is this product model ID. Okay, so here for the first one, I'm just selecting a data from this product column. Okay, so I'm just selecting the entire data sets from this particular table, and I'm just selecting the data by writing one SQL query that select star from particular table. So it is going to just select the data from this particular table, and if I see the columns, these are the columns which I'm fetching from my first table. Okay, now in my second data source, let's say I want to select a data from this product model table. Okay, so here in this second data set, I'm just writing in query that SQL command, and I'm just writing a query that select star from this product model, and I'm just getting this kind of column, and I can just say okay over here. Now I have these two data sets, and I want to merge their data. I want to apply kind of a join on this particular two data sets, and I want to save that data in some of my third table. Okay, so for that purpose I can use this merge join transformation. So I'm just adding this merge join transformations over here in my data flow task. Okay, now when I connect this OLEDB source to my merge join, okay, it just asks me what table it is, whether you want to consider this table as your left input or you want to consider it as your right input. Okay, based on the kind of join conditions you are going to use, okay, you can select the particular input as a left input or right input. In our case, as our product table is going to be a primary one, I'm just selecting it as a left input and I'm just saying okay over here. The second data source also, I'm just connecting it to this particular merge join. It is going to consider it as a right input. Okay, here in this merge join, the limitation is we can only like make a join at a time between the two data sets. Okay, we cannot make a join of more than two data sets in a one merge join component. Okay, now if again we see it is just giving us one error. It says the input is not sorted. So whenever we open this merge component, one of the limitation of this merge component and merge join component and merge component is that it only it only work if the data is in a properly sorted format. If the data is not sorted, then it will give an error, something like this. Okay, so what we need to do is either we need to sort the data in our SSIS package. Okay, so we can do that using this particular component available, that is a sorting over here. Or the other way is, what we can do is we can just take a sorted data from our source. Okay, we mark some of the properties in our OLEDB source and we mention that okay, this particular data set, whatever we are getting, is a sorted data set. Okay, so our merge join can directly accept this kind of data. Okay, so these are the two ways in which we can pass the sorted data to our merge join. I will just give you a demo on each one, so just don't worry about that. So first, with this sort component, so let's say I'm just again deleting this particular I'm just deleting this connection and I'm just adding this toSort component into my data set over here, as I have to sort both the data set. So I'm just adding it over here and I'm just connecting, I'm just passing my data pipeline to this sort component. I'm just opening this sort component in an edit mode. Here I can just specify on which column I basically want to sort the data. Okay, so generally on whatever column you are going to apply a join, those columns should be selected first to apply a sorting. Okay, so here we are going to apply write a join on this product model ID. Okay, so that purpose I'm just selecting this product. Here if you click on a particular button, it is just going to sort the column names. So it will make your life easy when you are searching for some particular column. So let's say here we are just sorting a data based on the product model ID. Here you can just assign the order in which you want to sort the data, so that you can apply to just click it over here. Here also there is an option that remove a rows with duplicate sort values. So if you have a duplicate data and if you want to remove it, then also you can check this particular option to remove a particular records, and you can just say okay over here. Similarly, for the second data source, I'm just going to select this product model ID and I'm just saying okay over here. So now it is just going to sort the data based on the product model ID. After that, I'm just passing this data to a next level, our merge join. Please mute your mic if you are not using it, because there are lots of noises coming and it creates a disturbance in recording as well. So I'm just creating this first data set as my left input. I'm selecting this second data set as my right input. Okay. And now if I open this merge component in an edit mode, okay, it won't give me an error because now it's know that the data is in a sorted manner. Okay. Now whatever like column we have sorted the data, it by default select those columns for a join operation. Okay. Now if you see this particular window on the top, over here one drop down box is available. This drop down box says what kind of join type you want to apply. You want to apply a inner join, left outer join, or full outer join. So what kind of join you want to apply. So those kind of join you can just select from this particular place. So let's say we want to apply a left outer join on our data set. So I'm just selecting this left outer join over here. Okay, but this table is going to be considered as a primary, which I have mentioned as my left input table. Okay, so whatever record present in this table, it is just going to find the corresponding match in this another table product model, and whenever it is going to get the particular like common things, it is going to join over there. Otherwise it is just going to add a null value in the data sets. Okay, after that we can just select a particular columns, that which column we want to pass to a next level. So let's say we want to pass the product, let's say we want to pass data like product ID, product name, product number, product subcategory ID. From this data set, let's say we want to select the product name, category description. These are the details we want to pass. Here, if the column names are same, and if we want to rename it, we can just write the output alias name, whatever we want to pass. So let's say I'm just writing over here as a product model name. Okay, so now this output alias will be created and the data in the pipeline will be passed with this name only, product model name. Okay, and I can just say okay over here. So now I have applied the merge join on this particular components, and I have this kind of merged data in my data pipeline, which I can transfer to a corresponding destination. So let's say I'm just creating this OLEDB destination, I'm just selecting, and in our test database I'm just going to create one table where I'm going to store this particular output. So for that purpose I'm just opening it in edit mode. I have not created any table in this August 2012 database to accommodate this kind of data. So I'm just clicking on this new button. It will take the corresponding data type and create a table automatically. So I'm just giving a table name as a merge join example. Okay, so a table with this name will be created over there in this particular database, and I can just see its mapping over here, that all the column mapping is proper, and I can just say okay over here. So now in this particular manner, if I run this package, what it is going to do is, let's just run the package and see how it is working. So when I click on this button, the execution will start. It is just going to fetch the 504 or 506 product from the source. There are 128 product models, model numbers, so it has fetched those data from this another OLEDB source. Here the join is applied based on the product model ID, and the data, like the end data, will be passed to a corresponding destination table. So in this particular manner we can join any of the two data sources, okay, and we can pass that data to a next level, and we can use it by applying any kind of transformation into our corresponding destination tables. Okay, now just to be sure, let me just go to this particular database and check whether the data has come to this table or not. So for that purpose I'm just refreshing this particular database, and in the table let me just see what kind of data it contains. And if we see the data in this particular table, we will be able to see that all the product name, its product subcategory, model number, everything is stored over here. For some product maybe the product model do not exist, So that's why we are seeing this null value. But for the another one, if the product model exists, then here we can see the product name and corresponding details, whatever we have in our database. So this is how we can implement a merge join, and we can utilize this thing. Now now we are just going to now I'm just going to tell you the another configuration setting which can be used to avoid the usage of this sort component. Ideally, we should not use a sort component in our SSIS package, especially where we are working with a big data or the record size like which is really big, where the record size is more than million records or something, because this sort operation is very expensive in terms of time. What it do is like to perform a corresponding sorting. First we need to have all the data in our buffer memory, then only we can apply a sorting. So that's why it become a very costly. So it is preferable that whenever you need this kind of sorting data, you take the sorted data from the SQL server or Oracle server itself, because comparatively SQL server and Oracle server, they are performance wise like they are more powerful compared to SSIS, okay, to apply this kind of sorting operation. So it is always preferable to have a sorted data from that place only. Okay, now if you have a sorted data, like let's say we are getting a sorted data from a particular database management system, then how can we configure, like what kind of property configuration is required so that our merge component will know that okay, the data which I'm getting is a sorted data. So I'm just going to show you that what configuration is required for that one. So for that purpose, I'm just deleting all these components over here, okay, and we have this OLEDB source over here. In this OLEDB source, I have just written as my source in my SQL command, I have just written a query that selects star from this product. Okay, here I'm just going to write that select star from this select data from this table, order by product model ID, because product model ID, it exists in both the places, and on this one we are just going to write a join condition. So I'm just sorting a data on the basis of this product model ID. So this statement I have just written over here. So now I'm going to get a sorted data from my corresponding source database management system. So I can just say okay over here.
Akshay, it's order by, not order.
Sorry?
It's order by.
Oh,
you have
sorry.
to write order
okay, so
by.
yep, I just forget it. Okay. So yeah. So let's say I'm just getting this kind of sorted data now from my source. Similarly, for this OLEDB source also, let me just write this condition over here, that order by product model ID. So here also I'm going to get this sorted data. Okay. Now I'm getting a sorted data from a SQL server or corresponding database management system. Now I need to configure to make sure that my merge component know that the data which is coming is a sorted in nature. So to make those kind of configuration, I just require to go to the advanced editor over here. When I go to the advanced editor, I will be able to see the window which looks something like this. Here in this window, the tabs are like connection managers, like from where we are fetching the data. Then component properties are there. Then column mappings are there, like what are we are fetching from a source. And in this input and output parameter, we can just see what are the columns, like this OLEDB source output, what kind of column it is providing. Okay, so here we just required to select this OLEDB source output. Okay, and when we select it, we will be able to see some common properties over here. One of the property over here is this is sorted where the default value is false. So first we require to change this default value and mark this default value as a true value. Okay, so now the data which is coming like now the definition will be updated in an XML file, and so the next component, whatever we add in a pipeline, now it will know that the data which is coming is now a sorted data. Okay, now the data is sorted, but on which particular column we have sorted the data, that also we need to specify. So here we have a list of all the output columns that we are getting from our source. Like these are all the columns which we are fetching from our source table. Now in this table, let's say we are fetching the data or we are sorting the data from based on our product model ID. So I'm just selecting this product model ID over here, and here if I see in its common properties, one column is short key positions over here. Okay, so here we just need to indicate like what its sorting order. Okay, like let's say if you are sorting a data based on 2 columns, okay, then you just need to define its sorting order, like on which column you want to first, like what is the primary sorting order and what is the secondary order. Like just to give an example, if you write us order by product ID, product model ID, then first your data set is going to be sort on the basis of product ID, and then your record will be sorted on the basis on the product model ID within product ID. Okay, so those kind of sort key position you just need to describe over here. So here we have only one product model ID, so I'm just writing its short key position as a 1. Okay, now I'm just saying okay over here. We require to make this similar kind of configuration in our OLEDB source, where I'm again going to its advanced editor, going to its input and output properties, selecting the OLEDB source output. I'm just marking this output as a sorted output. Okay, and after that I'm just going to a particular column which I'm having in my output, that is a product model ID, and on this particular model ID I'm just mentioning that this is the primary column on which I'm applying a sorting. Okay, if you are using let's say 2 columns, product model ID and product name in your sorting, okay, and in your SQL query if you have written that order by product model ID name, then you need to apply this short key position 1 for a product model ID, and against this name 2 you are just required to make the short key position as a numeric number 2 over here in this particular place. Okay, so if you have a more than 1 column on which you want to apply a join, then you can just apply these short key positions accordingly in this particular advanced editor, and after that you can just say okay over here. So now whatever data we are getting, this is in a sorting in a sorted order. So if I now use this merge join, okay, over here, and if I just like connect this, it will just ask me whether it's a left input or right input, or I'm just selecting it as a left, I'm just selecting it as a right input, and if I open it, now it is not going to give me an error, because now it is know that the data which is coming, that data is basically a sorted data, because we have changed we have changed the property of our OLEDB source components. Okay, after that whatever columns we want to select, we can just select the columns from this particular place, that we want to add this column or this column in our destination data sets, and we can just select these columns and we can say okay over here, and after that we can just transfer this data to our corresponding destination table. So this is how we can implement a merge join of 2 different data source, and to avoid a sorting operation, we can just have a sorted data from our source and we can implement it in this particular manner. Any question on this merge join component?
Yes, actually I have a question.
Yes.
Suppose if I want to join one more table, do we need to add one more OLEDB source, right?
Yep. If we have let's say one more table, then as I have told you, merge join can join the data from 2 data sets only. Okay, so if you want to let's say add one more OLEDB source and you want to apply one more join, then what you need to do is you need to add one more OLEDB source over here, you need to add one more merge join over here. Okay, and again you just need to join like whatever input you are whatever output you are getting for this merge join, you can just write it over here. You can consider this as a left input, or like based on your requirement you can consider it. Whatever you are getting from your OLEDB source, you can connect it over here, and you can, in this particular manner, you can apply a join with more than 1 tables or more than one data sets.
Okay, I got it. Thank you.
Okay. Any other question on this one?
I have one question.
Yep.
The results say from OLED and DB source 1 and source,
Okay.
they do not have to be, I mean, that the column on which we are sorting, they could be duplicated in 2 records, right? Say on OLED DB source 1, there are 2 product IDs, and on the same one, only 1 record exists on OLED DB source. So will merge join, will it be turn it into 2 records or 1 record?
Okay. It's you're saying that sorry, I didn't get you. From your one OLEDB source 1, you are getting your product IT as a 1, product model as a 3, okay, and in your other data source you are saying you have a data like you have a product model ID 3 over here, like you have a product model ID's entry more than once. That's what you are saying in your second data set? Okay. Now in this case, yeah, okay. Now let's say you have this kind of data, okay, and in your SQL server, if you are writing a left join, okay, where you are considering this table as a primary table, okay, so let's say I'm just labeling it as a table 1, okay, I'm just label this as a table 2, and let's say here there is some data text like A, B or something, okay. Now if you made a left join between those 2 tables, and if you write a syntax like select star from table 1, left join table 2 on this ID, then what kind of output you get? So similar join operation like what you apply in your SQL query, the similar kind of output you can get over here. If you use an inner join, and if you have a data over here which looks something like this, like 2 and let's say product model ID as a 4, and if you have applied an inner join, okay, so as this 4 do not exist over here in this particular table, then the data for this column won't be passed to the next level. So it's a similar inner join, outer join, and left outer join, and all the similar concept which we have in the SQL server. Any other question on this particular merge join component? Okay. Okay. Now this merge join component, as we classified each and every component in a partially blocking, blocking and non-blocking transformation, this merge join component is a partially blocking component, because if you think logically, like in this particular example as well, if you see the data, okay, if you want to join these 2 data sets, okay, then you need at least one data set's entire data in your memory, okay, or you need some data from your, as we are taking a sorted data, then also you need at least some data in your memory to make a comparison, to make a join and pass it to a next level, okay. So this merge join, now if you think by taking this kind of data or some kind of data sets in your mind, you will realize that it will require at least some data in its memory to go further in its execution. So that's why it has to wait for some amount of data in the SSIS buffer memory, and after that only it can start its execution, okay. So the nature which we are discussing, it's a kind of partial blocking in nature, okay. So this merge join component is basically categorized as a partially blocking component, and performance wise it's a like comparatively it's not good to use this kind of transformation because these are blocking in nature. So some way, if possible, we just require to avoid it using some logical connectivity, but those logical connectivity again is going to be based on scenario to scenario. So this is all about the merge join. In today's session, I want to cover the SCD, merge join and lookup component, but in the next 5-10 minutes, it won't be possible for me to give you a complete demo on lookup component. So I'm going to just keep the lookup component and merge component in for tomorrow's session. Anyone has any question on this merge on or SCD? For SCD, I just want all of you to implement the SCD type to using this date columns. If any one of you have an issue, then we can discuss it in tomorrow's session. Just join 10 minutes earlier. So that's all from my side for today's session. If no one has any question, then we can just close this session. So any question related to any of the tasks which we have discussed till now from anyone? Okay.
Hey Akshay,
Yes.
I won't keep you long, but do I need a password?